Of his options don't sound that great for his next opponent. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing if you want to become part of the gang, a notification gang. Please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the super chat, channel donations, the Venmo donations, the Cash App, and the Patreon family. We working. Sign up for a Patreon link below, or hit the join button to become a YouTube channel member. Now, you guys seen the clips at the beginning. Canelo Alvarez looking like he normally does. Very good, excellent on the pads. Only downside is, who's he gonna fight next? You know, Canelo, definitely, I respect his fighting ability, his skill set, and his discipline to the game. Pandemic or no pandemic, he has his own gym. He looks to be in tremendous shape, things like that. This is an ESPN article that was written a couple days ago. It says, promoter, if Canelo fights in September, he's gonna make less, right? And it was rather shocking. It says Canelo hasn't agreed to anything, but obviously there's not going to be a gate. Automatically he's going to make less because he gets part of the gate. Sponsors are not around, and a lot of sponsors don't want to do anything right now. So he's saying that Canelo is going to make less money, but here's the more shocking part. They're saying for Canelo, his next opponent list options, it says, so if Canelo fights, who will be his opponent? Question mark. It says, in a recent interview with Sky Sports, Eric Gomez said that WBA super middleweight titleist Caleb Smith, super middleweight contender John Ryder under consideration, right? Which we kind of knew. Billy Joe Saunders has topped off that list. He withdrew his name from consideration, saying that they were offered a pay cut. And he said he doesn't have that much time to prepare. So it's not going to be Billy Joe Saunders based on Billy Joe Saunders. In fact, Bernard Hopkins, who works with Golden Boy, has said that Billy Joe Saunders may have squandered his only gateway or ticket by not punching that ticket to Canelo. Gomez further said, we're not closing the door on anybody. Canelo's always available to fight the best. He always wants to fight the best. The problem right now is fighters have to be reasonable. When the promoter's talking like this, not usually a good sign. That fighters have to be reasonable. What is more unreasonable? DAZN paying Canelo $40 million a pop and paying Kovalev $12 million, even though no one asked for that fight? Or guys like John Ryder, David Lemieux wanting something respectable and not peanuts? You know, like, what are we really talking about? The DAZN business model is fully flawed. You're overpaying Golovkin and stuff like that, $15-18 million, then offering Steve Rolls, that nobody asked for that fight either, peanuts. And now Golden Boy is saying Canelo's opponents have to be reasonable. So Canelo could just make all this money, but the B side, because they're the B side, they have to be reasonable and, you know, take pay cuts. weird flex, but okay. He goes on to say everyone has to be reasonable. So the first guy to step up who is reasonable, he said it 3 times now, and understands we're in a pandemic, that's probably going to be the guy who gets the fight. So that doesn't sound good, especially when your competition, PBC, is talking about fights with Errol Spence and Danny Garcia. They're talking about Jermell Charlo could fight Rosario. They're talking about his brother Jermall Charlo, Sergey Devinchenko, fights like Wilder Fury, Top Ranks trying to get Teofimo Lopez versus Lomachenko done. And you have your biggest star and the biggest person on Golden Boy and the biggest person on DAZN and his promoter, who it sounds like they have some kind of tiff or beef, along with their second big fighter, Ryan Garcia. They're talking about the opponent got to be reasonable. Okay, it doesn't look good. Says because it's not like we were a year ago when everyone was normal and fine and everything was business as usual. It's not business as usual right now. We're in a pandemic. The world knows we are in a pandemic, but how do you have a star as big as Canelo, who is the biggest person on that platform? And this is the shocking part, y'all. Golden Boy President Gomez also said that middleweights Jason Quigley and Taureano Johnson would also be in consideration. They are both promoted at Golden Boy. What? So Canelo's doing all this training that you guys seen at the beginning, looking fab, looking phenomenal. And Golden Boy's talking about these are opponents for him. Jason Quigley got stopped by Taureano Johnson last year. Taureano Johnson has been stopped by Devinchenko, who Jermall Charlo is alleged to be fighting. Taureano Johnson also stopped by Curtis Stevens. Fights like this, what do they really do? If anything, why not make Jason Quigley Taureano Johnson too? Another name that's not really mentioned here is Lemieux, and that's another fight. This is a fight well past its expiration date. Lemieux and Canelo were both on HBO. Lemieux, why didn't Canelo fight Lemieux after he knocked out Curtis Stevens in a vicious fashion? Lemieux has one fight at 168 recently, and he got dropped 2 times by that against Max Berserker. Why would Lemieux be the person? And before that, Lemieux was supposed to be on 2 Canelo undercards, and he pulled out. One because he was dehydrated, struggling to make weight at 160, and the other because he was injured. So in David Lemieux's last 3 fights and last 3 outings, he pulled out of 2 Canelo fight cards for various reasons, and then he got dropped his first fight at 168 2 times and barely won a split decision, if he even won. A lot of people thought Max Berserker won. These are troubled times for DAZN and Canelo's career, and Golden Boy is using this ESPN interview and playing the sympathy little violin role. We're all in a pandemic. Everybody's business has faltered. Just the freedom of being able to go to the store and not wear a mask, or not have to have gloves on and be a germaphobe and stuff. Everybody in some capacity is affected. It'd be nice to, like 3 years ago when you can go to the store without a mask, but now for safety reasons, wear that mask. You got to wear the mask. So Golden Boy is just reiterating what we already know. We're in a pandemic, yes, but this doesn't sound good for Canelo. He looks to be training hard, but they're not trying to put him in a hard fight. They don't have a David Benavidez, a Better Biev, a Caleb Plant. They could have got Jermall Charlo, Devinchenko before they got close to finalizing. None of these fights. Andrade. Why is Demetrius Andrade signed to DAZN, but he is never in the conversation for Canelo or Triple G? Things to make you go, Golden Boy continued by saying, we're not going to close the door. We're not going to handicap ourselves, especially right now during the pandemic. Again, they could say we're in a pandemic 1,000 times. We know this. Why do they keep pleading for sympathy? Like, people are going to have sympathy if Canelo fights one of these names that he shouldn't be fighting. He says, you need all the help you can get, said Gomez, adding that choosing a foe for Alvarez is every much a budgetary issue as it is about making the most appealing fight. So do the potential opponents understand the current economics involved? He says some do, and then there's other fighters who need to wake up and don't understand it's different. It's a different world we're living in now. As for the deal to be made, there really isn't a sense of urgency given the current climate. What is Golden Boy doing, bro? They said there's no sense of urgency, and from today's date to the alleged date that Canelo wants, the Mexican date, there's 8 weeks. September 12th or whatever it lands on this week, that's about 8 weeks exactly. And they're saying there's no sense of urgency. He says it's a little different right now because you want to get out ahead when you're selling tickets, which there's not going to be any tickets to sell. There's not going to be a gate. So he's alleging, Golden Boy president, this is the president of Golden Boy now, Eric Gomez. He's alleging that he doesn't really have a sense of urgency, or Golden Boy doesn't have the same sense of urgency because there's going to be no crowd. But you have to understand that this is still boxing. And let's say people have regular lives. Let's say you have to go to a baby shower, or you have a certain commitment that you make because you don't think anything's going on. Or let's say you have to work at your job. Not everyone is out of work and unemployed. So if September 12th you want to support Canelo, and they schedule you to work because Golden Boy didn't announce Canelo's fight and give enough time for the fight to grow and breathe and promote, then how are you going to get the time off from work? Like, I used to work in corporate America, or whatever you want to call it, before I started working for myself with my own business. And the reality is, the longer you wait and the closer to the date, like if you want the 4th of July, you're better off planning, because guess what? Come closer to the 4th of July, everybody's requesting the day off because they have their plans. So the people who don't procrastinate and the people who actually take the time up front and request the 4th of July off because they know they're going somewhere, then in January, they have a better chance of getting that time off. So I totally disagree with Golden Boy saying there shouldn't be a sense of urgency to announce Canelo's fight based on not having live gate. This shows you where the priority is. He says we can announce the next fight even a month out. What? Who says that? Who says that, bro? But meanwhile, yesterday news broke that Charlo and Devinchenko are close to finalizing for as late as October. But you want Canelo, who's supposed to be the face of boxing, according to old media, and you're talking about announcing a month out because you don't have a crowd? Wow. So Canelo looks good in training. That's really all I gotta say. I don't know why the motion to do Canelo's career like this on DAZN has been this way. You took a pay-per-view star, took him off pay-per-view, and now you're saying that it's no real rush because you have no crowd. And the other reason why that's cap from Eric Gomez of Golden Boy is because they did this with Canelo's last fight too. He was trying to fight Kovalev, and then the negotiations failed, and they switched and tried to negotiate with Devinchenko for a week, and then they missed the deadline, and he got stripped of his belt. So they've been putting out Canelo's fights with very little time between the actual announcement and the fight date. Henceforth, why they're not doing multiple city press tours for the Kovalev fight. You know why? Because they didn't have time. The fighters had to get straight into camp. Kovalev already had a quick turnaround from his yard fight to the Canelo fight. So it was just like, we'll do one stop in LA, and where I think Kovalev is somewhere in SoCal, Canelo lives in San Diego, and that's it. But big fights, the way boxing was when Canelo was a bigger star, is he was fighting on pay-per-view. And when he was fighting Mayweather, they did a press tour. They were in New York, they were in LA, they were in wherever else, you know what I mean, to promote the fight. Now Golden Boy's talking about we have no sense of urgency for Canelo's next fight. They're doing the same thing with Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia is angry at his pay or whatever. They said he was going to fight 4th of July, and we kept getting closer and closer to the date. And then they said, oh, he's not fighting 4th of July. What is happening? And you can't just keep saying, oh, it's the pandemic, we're in different times, the uncertain economic times, because the UFC is still putting on fights of magnitude, like Jorge Masvidal Usman. That was a title shot that Masvidal had been wanting, and he was a late replacement. Fights like DC Cormier and Stipe Miocic, that's coming up for the UFC. PBC's talking about Danny Garcia, Errol Spence, Sean Porter versus Ivan Redcash, and different fights like that, Devinchenko, Charlo. So the economy is the economy. The pandemic, we're all in. So how is it that some people are, their fights seem bigger, that they're trying to get over the line, and Golden Boy just keeps trying to plead out with hey, we're in a pandemic, so this is the way it is. We'll see what happens when Canelo announces. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.